What I like to do is very shortly give a history of our organization, how it started, what our goals are, and where we are going. I was born in Hungary, and as a little child, my parents during the revolution took me to the United States. I grew up in Buffalo, New York, did my grade school, high school there, went to the University of Notre Dame in South Bend, then University of Georgia for medical school, Cleveland Clinic, University of Buffalo for eye surgery, and then at Baylor School of Medicine in Houston for vitreoretinal surgery. Subsequent to that, I was in the U.S. Navy for 3 years as a commander, and I was the first one as a retina surgeon there, and we set up the for the Far Eastern Fleet, the retina service in San Francisco. I also was involved with some research activity at that time with the Navy. We have a hybrid family. My wife is Japanese-American, and she was kind enough to learn Hungarian, but my Japanese is very poor. And we have 4 children. Nandor, who was also Chinese, Japanese, and Hungarian. That's what he got his master's in. And he just joined the Foreign Service. It was the State Department, excuse me, in Washington. And our other daughter is in Barcelona. And we have a set of twins in Chicago at Northwestern in Slavic and Russian studies. I wonder who influenced them into that. And the other one's at Loyola in psychology. Our story starts of the Calasanctius in around 1992, right after the Berlin Wall, when a young Hungarian graduate student approached me, and he says, well, you know, this is fantastic, and we'd like to get some opportunities for Hungarian students to study in the States. I thought that was a brilliant idea. In 1990, as many of you will remember, the Berlin Wall fell. There was democracy. Everybody was happy, clapping, except one thing was missing, that most people didn't know how to run a democracy. And so we sat down, and I said, well, what would you like to do? What would we like to do? Number one, we'd like to get some scholarships. Number two, if we go into the universities, we have to give them a strategic plan of what we want. So we sat down, and I said, well, what does it take to run a good democracy? Well, 3 things. One of them is to have good businessmen run and I'm underlining it and in strong words saying ethical businessman. Number 2, we have to have a good media. And number 3, we have to have good political scientists. So this was our plan, and then we sat down, well, what age group should we target? Should it be the undergraduates? Well, that was not a good idea. A 17, 18-year-old coming to the United States really doesn't know what he wants, what she wants. Too much headache for me to deal with another teenager in the family. And so we decided that perhaps the best thing would be a master's degree, which takes 2 years. To get a master's in the States, you'd have to be minimum 22, 23. By that time, you kind of settle down. You can take care of yourself. You know pretty much what you want. And also, very importantly, a master's takes approximately 1.5 years to 2 years, which is long enough to really get to know America, appreciate it, make friends, but you're still homesick. And that was our purpose and goal, to make sure that we keep them long enough that they are homesick and go back to Hungary. And I think it worked very well, because we had some 200 students so far, and all of them have returned back to Hungary. The next step was how we get these scholarships. Well, being in medicine, sooner or later everybody ends up in your office, and I got to know all the presidents of the local colleges in Buffalo, and I just made an appointment, and we went in, and I said, well, listen, we got a problem. Problem is that the Berlin Wall fell. There are a lot of countries there that would like to live as good as the United States, and we don't want to send money because that somehow always gets lost in the shuffle, but we'd like to send know-how. And somehow they were very receptive, and this young student on the first try went home with something like 4 scholarships, which is worth about $60,000. So that was our first effort, and we got started, and it was success upon success after that, so that presently we have some 7 schools that are offering full scholarships to Hungarian students. Our initial, we didn't have any specific guidelines. We were like the British Constitution. It was through precedence. We never wrote anything down. It's just whatever worked, we went with that. And our first efforts was to make sure that we get students who will be in the top 10% of their class. And that was mission accomplished. It sure worked. And the other one was, as I mentioned to you, to make sure that they come home upon completion of their studies. This was the first 5 years. We started in 1995, and this went very nicely till 2000. Then around 2000, by that time, we had 30 or 40 students who have gotten their masters in the States. And we decided, well, we got to do more than that. And that's when we came up that we wanted the following things with them. One of them is to organize an American-style alumni network in Hungary. Number two, we wanted them to learn how to fundraise and become a totally self-sufficient organization. Number three, we wanted them to learn the values of voluntary organizations and civic duty to society. Number four, we also wanted them to keep their eyes open, read a lot, read the New York Times, Wall Street Journal, all the big newspapers, so they learn about the American democracy and bring these ideas back and be able to adapt them to Hungary. And number five, there's a very nice American visa law. It's I think it's OPT, optional practical training, that whoever finishes a master's degree in the United States can stay an extra year there working for an American company, which we thought was an excellent opportunity, so that they are there for 2 years in a college learning the theoretical stuff, and then they have the opportunity to work for an American company. Well, this was our dreams, and now let me tell you how we fared. 10 years ago, our alumni group was established in Budapest. Their chief duties were, number one, to have a quarterly newsletter to the former alumni and the students studying in the United States. Then we had organized the TGIF. It's an American chain. Thank God it's Friday. That's when people get together and socialize in a bar. Basically, we call it the CTP Kocsma. It's a very informal get-together. Number three, and this was a very, very important thing, is to have them set up a committee that recruits, selects, and prepares and sets up the students for studies in the United States. And this is presently manned by 2 part-time people and about 10 volunteers. Basically volunteers that have studied in the States, and they just came back recently, and they give their experiences over to the new students. We have also organized a very successful fundraising event 10 years ago for the past 10 years, and we just had one this past week. And the third one, volunteerism. This is a new thing, or a rather unknown thing in Hungary, or a rare thing, should I say, and also in Western Europe. But it's a very strong one in the United States. Statistics show that 90% of the Americans are involved in voluntary activity. Americans also donate out of their own pockets $250 billion out of their own pockets a year for charity. I think this is a beautiful thing, and this is something that I was trying to impress on the students to bring home and try to popularize it. We have done our work in this. And I also told them that when they're in the States to go to the universities, museums, hospitals, and I invite you to do the same thing. And pay attention, every hospital, every university will have that donated by such and such family for the chairmanship, professorship, beds, medical equipment. Not government money, not the government will take care of it, but I made my riches and I'm giving back to society. That's where our motto comes from also. Make a lot, it's kind of simplistic thing, but I think it symbolizes what our values are. Make a lot, save a lot, give a lot. In other words, we expect our students to be very successful, and there's nothing to be embarrassed about it. Number two, to live a prudent life. And number three, you made your monies. You owe something to society to give back. And this is our guiding philosophy. What else did they do? When I was in the Navy, we did some laser research down at Stanford University. And I had the opportunity to go down there many times. And what impressed me was that this was in the early 80s, late 70s, is that 15, 16, 17-year-old kids were doing fantastic brainstorming for themselves in their father's garage. And this is, and they were excited, and this is where a lot of these so-called dot-com millionaires came from. And I said, my gosh, you know, the genes got to be similar in Budapest too, and why don't we do something similar to that? And then we started this entrepreneurship program, and this is, again, giving back to society, that those students that studied in the States, and they got their master's degree when they came back, they were expected to set up an entrepreneurship program for high school students. It's a short one, about 1 week, but it's enough to give the basics of entrepreneurship, such as finance, accounting, marketing, PR. And if you really have a dedicated, obsessed young kid, then you basically gave them the basics, and then you let them loose. And there's the internet, then there's the backup of our former alumni to help them with. And we have been doing this in Budapest, in Szeged, in Slovakia, in the Ukraine, and also in Romania. And we have now alumni from there. Some of them have taken up business, and they're studying now in Buffalo. The other one was that one of our students, and she's here, and she's very bashful, but when she went back with her parents, she established an orphanage in the Ukraine. And I had the privilege to be there a few days ago, and I have to tell you that it was one of the most impressive, professionally run, loving organization that I have ever seen in my life. And I'm very proud that I was able to help her get some of these ideas in the States. We also have some of our students that are medically interested, hospital visitations, visiting the sick. What about learning the American system of government? All the students that come there have an affinity and a love for America. Either it's nostalgic or romantic, but they find it very interesting. And I encouraged them when they came there. In Buffalo, we had mayoral elections as a volunteer, to take part as a volunteer in, and it didn't matter which party. I said, that's not what counts. I said, just go there, learn how the system works. I said, learn how the Americans do it. They do it very well. They've been doing it for 200 years, and take part in the campaigns of some local politicians, which they have done in Buffalo. And then we made the major leap with Mrs. Edith Laur's help, that students that were there for half a year or a year, and they were tuned into America, tuned into the American political system. She was kind enough to arrange for them to go to the US Congress and spend a semester there studying. And it's been very successful. I think we had 5 or 6 students that have taken part in that. Also, we have organized, when these students come home, the plan is, and the establisher of it is here, is the HOTNET. We call it HOTNET, Hungarian American Transatlantic Network. It's basically those students that have political inclinations or want to continue their dialogue. It's an informal group that gets together to study the different aspects of Hungarian-American transatlantic relations and what they can do about it. Finally, let me just conclude that we'd like to thank the U.S. Embassy for sponsoring this and also for the generosity with which they've been handling our visa affairs. You know, these were problems, but we've never had one. And hopefully, no reports came back that would embarrass us in front of you. And we're really ready to go on and continue with our work. And I'm doing this as a hobby. I'm a surgeon myself, but this has been one of the most gratifying work in my life. And thank you so much for your attention. And I'd like to see all of you, if you come to Buffalo, 74 Lincoln Parkway. Doors are always open.